Hey guys, 1 hour late, but it's a purposeful late. I was watching Melly Mel on my iPad, Critic on one phone, and Barrett Jagdio on the other phone. This country really gone to a mess. This thing, this thing has gotten so out of hand now that it really is the signaling of how much society is breaking down. Like, it's almost like all the nasty dirtiness coming up from, the underbelly of society. And what I really want to tell people is that it's not everyone. It's not all of us. It's this select group that is associated with the PPP that all this nastiness is coming out about. Okay, everyone that's associated with them, everyone that's involved. I don't have to remind everybody that the only people that have ever been sanctioned in this country have been or are associated with the PPP. I don't need to keep reminding you guys about that. And, I sat down just now and I was watching all three of these lives go on. And I watching Melly Mel, Jagdio, and Critic. And I sitting there saying, partner, we really, really have sunken to such a low place. And all I can bring it back to is understanding that Jagdio falls perfectly into this group of, like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to get too insulting because that's not why I'm here. But his name is calling everything. Every single time corruption talk about in this country, Jagdio name is called. Explain it to me. Explain the logic behind it. Everything. Melly Mel just play some video of gold smuggling and corruption that taking place. Again, all PPP associates who claiming they pay in Jagdio, how the government involved, and it's just ridiculous now. And it kind of, this is not an attack, or it's just a comparison. In these democratic societies, we have to look at our leaders, right? It's all about the tone that's set for society. And when we watch people that go on to press conferences or every Thursday like Jagdio does, or goes onto a stage like Irfan them do every day now, and they attack people and bash people. You guys should go and listen. One of my friends told me this. He said, Kian, you're much more versed or witness a lot more of this because you're looking at it every day. You're involved in politics. It's part of what you do. And so I'm taking a lot more information. And the more information you take in this society, you realize, Jesus, we have really slipped here. We are really sinking into this nasty cesspool of just corruption, vindictiveness, everybody attacking one another, who ratting out one another. And it all stems from the corrupt business, from the corrupt leadership that's taking place in this country. Because all these people that ratting out one another, all these people that talking out one another's story, are involved with corruption, are doing dirty business. And it all stems from the leadership. I don't know how to keep explaining that to you guys. But here's what I do want to say to you guys before we get into the top topics. Francis coming on in a few minutes. Is it's not everyone, guys. I feel like a lot of our society, again, through lack of education, lack of exposure, believe that, oh my gosh, everybody's just so bad in Guyana. And they get really, sad. They get depressed. They get, just kind of stop caring about what's going on. And that's all a part of oppression. I don't want you guys to feel like it's all of us. It's everyone. It's not everyone. Okay? Francis and I were making a joke earlier. You say, you know how you don't get caught up in corruption, or your name how to stop your name from getting call and voice notes and recordings and these kind of things. Don't be corrupt. Do legitimate business. Help people do the right thing. Be a good person. But not our leadership in Guyana. Sorry. Oh, Francis is here. Hey, Francis. Approved. Francis is being added, guys. Yeah, guys. A lot of people have been talking about, you know, us who are speaking out and worrying about, you guys need to be careful. You guys need to know what you're doing. And you're right,
What's
Francis.
up,
How are you,
bro?
sir?
Good night. Good night.
I'm trying to. Is everybody hearing Francis clearly? If you're not, let me know. We'll change things around.
I can't hear you too well. I think I'm gonna give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna jump back in.
All right, I hearing you, but it's kind of muffled. I hope you guys can hear Francis. Are you? Guys, if you're hearing him, just let me know. If not,
Give me 2 minutes.
you're coming back. Oh, okay, Francis is gone. All right, he'll be back in a second, guys. But what I'm getting at, uh, people are worried about what's happening in our society and how much our society is breaking down now. All right, guys, this is why we need a change in leadership. And if we don't get a change in leadership, I want you guys to be at least one of the few out there that understand that we're trying to change a system here. Giving any one group of politicians all this power that can control parliament and this executive presidency that we have in this country, these kinds of leading to this corruption, that are leading to our society breaking down because they're helping their friends and their family. They're giving out these corrupt contracts. They're the ones that are spearheading this decay in our society. Now, just let me unpack that for you. If in order to get money in this country, and let's be realistic in this, if you want to be one of these big rich ones driving around Prado and building big house, etc., the quickest and easiest way for you to do that is obviously to go and kiss up to the government, put on your red t-shirt and collect contracts, right? So you don't need to do good work. Half the time you don't even do work at all. And then you get all of this free money. But what you're not realizing is this is also the system that is creating you to be indebted to the government, to be indebted to the PPP. So now they control you. So now you're forced to continue this corrupt work and to support the corrupt habits because they are now your lifeline. You depend on them, okay? And this is what people need to understand. The minute you start eating out of the hand, you ain't got no choice no more, all right? They control you because you done do the corrupt work. You done pass the kickback. So they done got you red-handed, involved in corruption. How are you backing out now? What's your plan? You see why people like myself can talk? Nobody can come and tell me I pay them bribes, I collect contract, come back. Same thing with Francis and people like us, all right? This is the difference between decent society and what the PPP is creating here. Now, it's going to spin off now into understanding that we've really gone into something very interesting here in Guyana. And I'm personally enjoying it because it needs to happen. It's a revolution. All right. What's happening now is it is these friends and family of the PPP, these people that depend on the PPP versus the average man, versus the working class Guyanese, versus the people that aren't involved in politics or corruption. These are people that live in every day, that got paid their NIS, their PAYE, that got giant lines at GRE, that got bid for contracts, that got go to the job 9 to 5 every day, that watching all this oil boom that they keep spreading all over the country. Oh, look how much money we making. Look how great things are. We're the people. These are the people that are not benefiting. Okay? They're watching these guys go from and Guyana is such a small place, so you can see it. You're watching these manners that use a tech taxi. You're watching these manners that use a catch bus. You're watching ministers that use a drive bus, that use a carpool together to get around. So you're watching all of a sudden this group of people that has not actually done any hard work or accomplished anything on their own. All of a sudden, what? Driving Prados, got 2-3 house, a piece of land somewhere, and big contracts, building road and etc. You understand that these guys, what's occurring here in society is these guys trying to keep the status quo. These guys only out defending themselves. These guys that are screaming progress, all right, the reality is all of us live in it. All of us got blackout every day. All of us got brown water with pipe, all right? All of us driving on the shitty roads that pave one day and in 6 months, done broke up already, all right? But the guys that are standing there screaming progress, 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 those are the ones that are building those roads in the shitty manner that it's being built. Those are the guys that are getting the contracts. Now, I love what's happening here. I love the fact that the average Guyanese, and Mohammed's has given them hope. So has Forward Guyana. We've had, like a Manza Walton, we've had these really fantastic candidates that have come up, and everybody has skeletons in the closet. Everybody got things that, Amanza was with PNC. That's not the best thing in the world. I can think. We all know Mohammed's, rumors and allegations, etc. Now, any one of us that put ourselves out here publicly, they're going to throw some nastiness at us. But what we've realized and what the society has realized is that we need a change. We need PPP and PNC are the only two parties that have ever run this country. And we realized that, wait a second, we need to give somebody else a chance, because the two of y'all, anytime you're not in power, you just complain how bad things are and that things need to fix. But when you're in power, nothing ain't changing. So we know you're lying. We know that this is a game that you're playing to keep yourself in power. Now, I'll give you just an understanding of proof to understand what's really going on in this country behind the scenes. All right? Now, I want everybody, and it's going to come out a little bit more slowly but surely, I want everybody to go and pay keen attention just for the next couple of days on the investments that the PPP have in the business community. All right, whether it be specifically to the politicians that are working with PPP, the ministers, government officials, and the businesses in Guyana. When you look at most of the big businesses in Guyana, the PPP officials or the ministers or somebody with the PPP government got some association with those businesses. So it's incestual, like they all working together, all right? And they keep themselves in business and they're trying to keep the power and keep the money within themselves. And the same goes for the PNC, all right? The reality is, the PNC got shares in Republic Bank. The PNC got big investments across this country as well. Look at the friends and family of the PPP that building roads and getting contracts. Check the associations out with the vice president, the president, and all between. Go and see what their families are doing. And then you realize these guys are just here to protect their investments. That's all they're doing. All right? And that's what you guys need to realize. All these political parties doing the PPP and the PNC is saving their own ass, is protecting themselves. And they do that by maintaining the status quo. Oh, you guys suffering. You guys got it real bad because the PPP in power, they're terrible. Well, vote the PNC, and the PNC go in and they do the same shit. All right? When the PPP in opposition like they were, we're going to come in, we're going to do all of these things, we're going to make the changes, blah, 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 nothing. These guys ain't doing nothing for nobody. All right? They're not raising nobody's salaries. All right, pension, they're not helping poor people. They're not helping old people. They're not helping nobody. All right, I just got, to the point where they don't even want to talk about cost of living anymore. Guyana Marketing Corporation, which is a government entity, has stopped. Oh, Francis, I think you're back. Are you? Yeah, Francis is back. I approve you, Francis. Francis is coming in. All right, yeah. They stopped posting how much goods have gone up. In the marketplace, all right? Because after they released that, hello, Francis, you're much more bright and sprightly.
What's up, my friend? How are you doing?
Why am I not getting you? You're hearing me? I can hear you, but it's kind of like on and off. Anyways, it's fine.
I can hear you.
Good. Once the public can hear as well. If you guys have any hearing problems, let us know.
I can't see
You
you,
know,
but I can hear you.
so Francis, what I'm talking about is how much business investments the PPP and the PNC have in Guyana society and our economy, which is why they are able to maintain the status quo and control the masses and the money that's moving around in this country. And that unless this whole system comes down, unless this whole system is broken down, then this country can't move forward. And I specifically want to have a conversation with you about the banking system. All right? But I guess we could precurse that conversation. You want to talk about the sanction
Hold
bridge
on.
first, or you want to
First,
get into the banking system?
first we need good night, everybody. I see in some of my friends and followers in your comments. Good evening to you guys, everyone, as a matter of fact. Um, I've been following the live. I had to dip out earlier, and that's why the communication was a bit bad. But you were on the point where you were talking about corruption. Basically, how we've been going back and forth between the PNC and the PPP. And you said that there was corruption in both parties. I see my friend Nene here saying, "How dare you?" Guyana was removed from being blacklisted on the APNU. Somebody else, they keep PNC name out your mouth, right? I saw Aubrey reply to one of these recordings with Amir. So, guys, man, let me have an honest discussion, okay? This is something that does hamper us. There was corruption on the APNU, as there's corruption on the PPP, right? And we can get into talking about relativism, like the relative level of corruption. I don't think anybody would disagree that there's been no greater level of corruption than under the PPP administration. And in the same breath, you still cannot turn around and say there was no corruption on the PNC. I'll give you one example. So they had one of the brothers is a half brother of the minister. I think it was Ferguson for Public Works. I knew that guy. He lived in South, and he was a friend of a friend, right? So I knew that guy, and I knew he was a bus conductor at the park. So he was a conductor at the park. APNU got into office. Next thing, my guy was and let me finish because I want to flesh this out. Next thing, my guy got a job as a driver for one of the ministers, right? He started driving one of the ministers around. Then they caught him stealing the fuel because they would have this system with Gaia where they go and fill up the tanks and stuff. So they caught him stealing fuel from Gaia. He got moved from there to some other RDC, some other office. Next thing he's executing, he getting $5 million contracts to clean the area. That guy, Kibwe Copeland, I love Kibwe, nice guy. He's posted good content about his community. I think he's one of the more active counselors. I have a gripe with him. He on Christopher Jones when he was Minister of Sports, he was one of the people collect $5 million to repair a playground in South Rumville. Diggers came, jogged you. I criticized PPP before that. They had built a crappy fence for the place. These guys came, knocked it down, munged up all the stuff in the middle and left it. The playground, $5 million disappeared, right? That is just scratching at the surface. Some of the different ministers in there had run-ins going on. Granger's man did not want to hear about corruption of his ministers. Let us be honest. If we're going to point fingers across at the PPP, let us point fingers all over the place where
And
they need to be
everyone.
pointed. Right? We
Yes.
have to be honest because this is the thing.
And fair.
Ultimately, I was discussing corruption the other day and somebody told me on a TikTok live, right? Well, you might have noticed I'm an Afro-Guyanese. I don't know if any of you noticed that. But that automatically leads to the presumption, as you would experience as well. Just looking at you in this country, people can automatically assume you are a PPP. They look at me and automatically assume I am a PNC, right?
Yeah.
Indian people are owned by that party. Black people are owned by this party. And somebody told me when I was speaking to corruption under the APNU and why I was so frustrated, they said, we don't air our dirty laundry in public. Who is we? is it all Afro Guyanese? And if it is that just on the basis of the PNC only because I am black and the PPP only because why don't we just have like a fertility competition every 5 years and see who can make the most babies? Because what are we even voting for? When do we even get to policies already? Let's
Yeah.
just make babies for 5 years at a time and see who make the most babies. That make the most sense. If under the status quo, nobody owns us, and we must ventilate all the corruption that happens. So there was more corruption and is more corruption under the PPP. I think we improved. Kiki, and you could talk about this. I think you checked the corruption index. We were having a conversation about that. And Nene, you're right. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. You're right that we improved in the ratings under the corruption. But what Kian is speaking to is these improvements are so marginal. They are so marginal. I'm
Yes.
gonna start sharing
So
footage
you know,
from years back.
just to give
You know,
yeah,
huh?
just to give some insight on the CPI, which is the corruption perception index, which is put out by the Transparency International Organization. Um, Between 20, well, first of all, pre 2015, before APNU entered the government, we were at the lowest this country's ever been. This is when we were getting blacklisted all across the world, all of our sectors,
Mhm.
corruption, not just corruption, money laundering, drug smuggling, gold smuggling, the list goes on and on. Human trafficking, things like that. The country was in a wreck. Um, APNU went in 2015. To be fair to APNU, it did raise it on raise Guyana's reputation on the corruption
They were
index,
more disciplined.
but it only raised by like 2 points. All right, it wasn't a significant raise. And
Hmm.
then now fast forward to 2020, PPP has taken power. We have now dropped back those 2 points. So I'm not praising APNU for oh my gosh, you cleared up corruption,
But
but
remember, another issue with APNU is they left a lot of the infrastructure that the PPP had in place right there because they didn't want to be accused of victimizing persons from the PPP. So they left a lot of people that were part and parcel of the corrupt system and architecture right there in their place. And what ended up happening? The administration was undermined, right? It was
yeah,
sabotaged from outside, it was undermined from inside. They're building projects, right? There were a number of construction projects. As soon as the PPP lost that election, a lot of people, hundreds of people were sent home. They were fired from their construction jobs. And there's some sites that did not lift a brick. Nobody lay a brick until the PPP got back in, right? And this
yeah,
is this something else for another discussion. The way that the PPP will sabotage the economy if they're not. It's like one of those abusive lovers, I guess. Like if I can't have you, no one else will, and they'll sabotage the economy. They tell their supporters to pull the money out because remember, in this period here, they're making sure they're pumping billions of dollars into businesses that support them.
yeah,
So if they get knocked out of the office and they tell those businesses, you hold back on spending, fire people, don't start any new projects. That's the grounds they use to turn and say, oh, these guys are making it hard. They're making the economy difficult. They slowed up business. No, the PPP slowed up business, right?
yeah.
That's the word that they go spread in their bottom house meetings, right?
So, just as another point of proof, and
Mhm.
that PPP and APNU, PN/PNC, are in bed together, that they're both facilitating the corruption, that they're both involved. And the proof is right there in the
But
Exxon
why would you
contract.
say they're in? I don't
Nobody
know
in
if
the
they're in
world
bed together in
has
that
ever
sense.
said
I
that's
think
a
some of
good
them are
contract.
definitely
But yet,
friends,
both of them
right?
have said they're going to
But
renegotiate it. Both of them have been claiming what's wrong with it, but nobody has fixed it.
yeah, not just that. Ian. You see, the other day when we had that live, and we realized what we had for the Guyana movement. We had Mark from Win. We had you who was on the fence helping all the opposition parties, right? And we were reflecting, and I've had cause to reflect on it since that it's very rare. It gave me hope, right? Because it's rare to I don't see it at all actually when you'll see someone from the PNC and the PPP sit down in a forum, much less have a live stream together, where they may not agree on everything, but they're trying to aim towards some sort of consensus, to finding some middle ground, where they're not cussing each other out, using each other out. I believe the quality of parliamentary discourse has gone into the gutter. Right? I don't
Francis,
feel proud
watching
as
it
a
now.
Guyanese listening to a session
Look,
of parliament looking at what's going on. I don't feel proud of my
mhm.
leaders, what's going on in that room there. So to your point, I don't think that they're in bed in corruption together, because the PPP is a spiteful organization. And as long as you're on opposition, even considered opposition, I'm not even like in the PNC. I've been a critical voice. So have you. They will exclude you from things and opportunities and try and blacklist you and be vengeful. So those are people they'll do the same to, unless they have some reason, right? Some of them, they might maybe try to buy them out. I know there's a lot of people that jump ship, right? Only
That's
they
what I
know
say.
why they jump.
Look at them switching over. Look from back to forth because we watched the same thing pre 2011 with AFC and then AFC app new, where look how much Nagamutu and blah blah blah, Bram Jatana all jump over from
Mhm.
PPP and join app new AFC. It's incestual. They're together.
It's a binary.
Sorry, when I
It's a
see two
binary system.
organizations,
It's a binary system
sorry.
that Guyanese grow up in, where we think if it's not A, then it has to be B. If it's not B,
Yeah,
then it has to be A. Okay. When
yeah.
you
All
bring,
right,
and that's
let's
what's refreshing about this period. We have more third party options. All right.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, beautifully. Good people too. Good people. All right, Amanza and for Guyana, you guys. I'm sorry. I I like the vibe of that organization. I think there's good people involved. I think they're there for the right reasons. I really truly hope they get a seat or two. All right.
I
Much
hope
more
we get
important, I hope they get
a
the
few seats. I
minority
hope we
seat.
get a few
All right.
seats.
Let them be the
Mhm.
balance. Let them be the middle ground. We know Win is going to get quite a few seats. And then APNO and PVP already have their race base uh, groupings. So let the power get spread around. Push it to all the parties. This is what people need to understand what we're trying to accomplish here. Make sure no one of these organizations has all the power. Don't trust
Um,
politicians. I don't care who it is. Make
to
sure
your
none of
point
them,
about
though, has the power
to your point
to
about
make all the
Win,
decisions.
to your point about Win getting quite a few seats. Um, you know, again, I promise in this whole process to be honest about my observations and the like, and we all need to hold each other accountable in this process. And something that has worried me a bit about Win, I know people will vex with me for talking my truth, but I gotta speak my truth. This thing with Dog, and I'm not here to even respond to Doggy, but Dog, when Mohammed saying Doggy is not part of the party, but Doggy is doing press conferences for the party. Doggy say he don't do nothing without instruction. We had a live where we talk about the press conference Doggy did and the fact that the party disowned him and how is he in the party colors with the party flag on a podium calling a press release. It was funny to me, right? Because we covered this story where he gun but a woman in the head. So instead of being responsible and responding to that in a reasoned manner, Doggy hopped on a live to cuss everybody, including me, you, Dor, everybody, stink for over an hour. I think Odessa called him at some point and tried to talk him down, and he's talking with her. He said he's going to get Mark de France fired from Win, and he started cussing out. There's a man cussing out someone in his own party live on Facebook and he say he got some gambling problem and start dragging him through the mud. There's someone that's allegedly this person in the party because Mark is the head of Anuk, right? They've joined in collaboration with Win or been absorbed into Win, right? So that when I saw that, okay, and I'm not the person, I'm not going to come online and abuse Doggy. That's not the level of communication I aspire to. But it's stuck in my brain. You know that Doggy said he doesn't do anything without authorization. So I would hope the campaign heads for Win come out and clarify whether it is that is the sort of tone that we're going to be setting for communication going forward. Because I will be 100% honest with you here and say that doesn't strike me as very different to what we're running away from with the PPP. Persons within the party, whether it's ministers or those that are consider themselves close to the seat of power, believing they can behave as they want, when they want, to whoever they want. They could bully, victimize, lash who in the head, whatever. If anyone tries to hold them account, they come and cuss them out, stink and nutty. That's the kind of communication I am rejecting. I reject
Yeah.
that. And it's just interesting to me that I have not seen anything come out from Win to speak to that matter. So if I hear silence, for me, that's just as good as endorsement, and that's not something I
Yeah.
can support.
I
I
think that's
can't
the
support
key.
that.
That
I've been
that's the
very
nail on the head.
supportive
And the only thing I
up to
have to
this
say about
point.
that,
I've been
again,
very
having been on the
supportive
live with
of
you guys,
huh?
hearing the way Doggy behave, is my request, because
Look,
I'm a
Andy
very firm
Prasad,
believer in third
Andy
party. I
Prasad
believe,
just made a
again, I
point
don't
here.
trust any of these politicians, but I believe we need more parties for a change in system. But I'm
Yeah, you
asking
need
the
more
Win
change.
party
Look,
to
oh look,
step up
Andy
here.
Prasad just made a point here. Win will lose lots of votes and respect if Doggy is a part of Win. I'm
Correct.
with Andy on that. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yeah. And
Up to
that's what
the sanction, hear me out. The sanction, every all the other thing, they're trying to victimize us and everything. I and all get fed up of hearing about these sanctions because most of the people with sanctions are actually in the PPP. So they're hypocrites for talking about like 20% of the sanctioned persons when they have 80% of the sanctioned people in their camp. And let's talk about the sanction Harbor Bridge just now.
but just
But
one
I
second.
am
I
with
just want to make
Andy.
sure that just before we
I
jump
hear
onto the
me out.
bridge.
I'm with
I,
Andy on that because when this thing surfaced, this was a whole nother level now. This is not about Azardin so much, but the party. How are they going to be doing business? What kind of people are in the party or associated with it? And what does the leadership of that party tolerate? So currently, the leadership of the PPP endorses and tolerates people, vicious people like Nigel Dharamlal coming online to say, if you have anything to say about this party, we're going to come after you. We're
yeah.
going to get you. Jagdi was saying we're going to come after these people. They use people like Sheriff and Amir Ahmad to defame, victimize, right?
Yeah.
So now you have Doggy, who is part of Azardin's party, and Doggy is coming online to say, if you have anything to say about me and my party, and you got anything to talk and keep my name out your mouth, and blah, 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 I'm going to cuss you stink and going into the gutter after people. So is he going to be the next Guyana Daily News? What platform is he going to take? And where is, I'm not
Yeah.
scared to mention Doggy name. I'm not scared of dogs.
This fire with fire thing that
No,
Doggy
no, no,
them
no,
are
no, no.
doing,
That's
I'm
not a
sorry.
level of
This is what has to end.
communication.
And
And
Win
and and
themselves,
and
Francis,
but
have to be the ones to stop him. They need to say, this guy is not a representative of this party.
the
We're in
very
no way,
fact they
shape,
have
or form in
not
support
said
of this
so,
kind of
and he
behavior.
said he
Set a
doesn't do
different
anything without
tone.
instruction.
Set a different tone. What's that, Francis?
No, I said the very fact that they haven't, we are not. It's clear to us that a statement should have been issued a long time, but the fact that there is no such statement and he's continued to go on every day cussing out different people, and there's somebody we seen paying people, he pays
Yeah.
people on behalf of when he's in there. He talk about how he came up with the name Win, how he could fire people in the party. So if
Yeah,
someone
that's
is out there giving
craziness.
a
You can't
false
have that
impression
level of
about
discourse about your organization. That's that, guys. And this is advice for Win. Don't get me wrong. I'm not attacking the party or what they're doing. I think they're doing a lot of great stuff. I think, a lot of their campaign, a lot of their manifesto is fantastic and so on.
why
And
no
people are
no
supporting. They're
when
giving
we
people hope, and I think that's
when we
very
support
important.
people
I love to
Kian,
see what's happening. But
when we
at the end of
support
the day,
people.
you have to make sure you are different from the PPP and the PNC. Now, I remember Lampy and Pampy when we were going through the drama in 2020, the rigging. I remember how they used to cuss me out. I remember here, this one is a particular. Remember when Amir Daily News launched, told everybody that Mohammed's giving away $100,000 in front of his place. And had all of them people going Saturday 4 o'clock in the morning. And his big profile picture is PPP on the Guyana Daily
Yeah,
News page. You have the PPP don't come out and say that that's wrong, that we don't support that. This is what these parties and these organizations
It's
need to
a
understand.
model.
This is
You have
communication
these
with the
attack
public.
dogs with plausible
We're watching
deniability.
society degrade. We're watching the nastiness, the voice notes, the backbiting, the snitching. We're watching all these nasty people in society show their real colors this election. All the things in the closets, all the dirty things that they took under the bed, all the corruption they're doing, all coming to light now because they're ratting out one another. Be a
And I
different
just saw
organization.
somebody just said
Go.
that Doggy could do anything he wants because he is not a part of WIN. Yes, he is a part of WIN. He's publicly stated many times he is a part of WIN. He's there handing out money on behalf of WIN and doing coordination for them. And he's holding press conferences in WIN colors, talking about WIN topics, taking a call from his boss while he's on the live. And WIN have not come out to clarify that this man cussing everyone stink and dirty on the internet with finality is not doing so on this behalf. And from his own mouth, he said he doesn't do anything because he was asked about the whole cussing out and everything. He said he don't do anything without instruction. And what he's implying there is that he had clearance from Azardin to come online and cuss people out stink and dirty.
He shouldn't
That's
even be
what
saying
Doggy
those
is
kind of
implying,
things because this
right?
makes him
So
into an
there's the note
Amir.
statement.
This makes him turn an Amir. Amir is friend. Remember you call my name, blah blah blah. You're calling everybody name on your show. We can talk your
You can
story.
do
The
whatever
fact of the matter is,
you think
Sheriff.
someone off the
Let's be
street.
honest. Let's be honest. How you think Sheriff is getting to do the things they're doing? The security company running next to police like if there's police. They buying helicopter. They building mall and road construction and hospitals. How you think these things happening? I leave this to the public. If we watching a company like this do this kind of thing with somebody like Amir at the head of it, at the head, I want y'all to think who really running the show. And the fact that the PPP have not distanced themselves from him yet. Okay? You must know
Because he
that there are
serves
puppet
their agenda,
masters at the back
right?
pulling the strings. All right?
Good.
So don't fool
And
yourself with what's going on.
not because we like somebody or we support their party means that we don't hold them accountable. That's precisely how the PPP became the most corrupt party in the history of Guyana. Because the people supporting them, and I kind of understand now, right? The historical perspective. When the PPP got in 1992, at that point, I'm sure, just like how we are just fed up, sick of PPP today, people must have been so fed up with PNC. They were so fed up with them, right? There's desperate that these people get in a new, fresh party. People are so happy that a new, fresh party, these PPP, and they were young, the youngest government. And guess what? When they started messing up, nobody wanted them to look bad because maybe the PNC might pounce on it or whatever. So they let things slide. They let things slide. And the party mutated, it metastasized into a cancer upon the nation. Right?
That's right.
And in similar fashion, I don't want that to happen to WIN, Mohammed's party. I don't want that to happen to Forward Guyana Movement or any of the other small parties for that matter. Right? That are entering the game now. So from an early point, I don't want it to be said in 3 years' time, if they're in government and Doggy is some minister of security or running some security thing and still lashing people in their head with gun and there's no repercussions and people are like, oh, but I thought Lorna, and I'll say, well, I told you so. Right? I don't want it said that, oh, you didn't mention anything, Francis. No one said anything. Yes, I'm saying it's very disturbing. It follows a pattern of the very people we're running away from. It's exactly from their playbook. Carbon copy. And if we want to do different, if we're saying we're doing different, we need to do different. Like how you were saying earlier, if you want to keep your name out of corruption and scandal and people voice note, but how much money you're collecting this, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, people will still fabricate things, but the kind of things we're hearing coming out, but Amir, Susan, Rodriguez, all these guys, what do you think about this sanction bridge, man? This China railway, let we get off this thing. This sanction bridge.
Let's talk about this bridge. All
Sanction
right, let me
bridge.
start with the basics, Francis. Sanctions are sanctions. You know what I love all of a sudden? That all the PPP become professionals at sanctions, experts on sanctions.
Now got
All
a
of a sudden,
breakdown. It's not just one sanction type. You have many different type of sanctions. You know what I'm saying? It's not only one. You have many kinds. Right?
we gone from sanction man Azardin to no, we rich people is different kind of sanctions. Here is now sanctions, paragraph 1, section 7, 18A, letter B. This is the type of sanctions. Who really is? They really think
Hold
everybody's
on, wait,
stupid?
before
Sanctions are
we move on,
sanctions. All right. Let me
on.
explain this.
Hold on,
Sanctions in this case, OFAC sanctions, are implemented by the American government. Okay. Now let's make this clear. That means they can do anything they want. Okay. All these little sections and clauses, they interpret that any way they want, and they apply it to anybody they want in any way they want. Okay, so for somebody to sit here and say, oh, these sanctions are different, America's going to deal with these ones different, you don't know shit. Okay, you are lying. Okay, because you're giving your opinion on what you think the American government is going to do. Sanctions are sanctions, and they will do anything they want. So if you are working with a Chinese company that is sanctioned, when you could work with any other bridge company, a million companies build bridge, but you choose the sanctioned one, right, to build this bridge, the reality is you have put all of Guyana at risk, because you don't know how any of America's organizations are going to react to this. Now, more importantly than that, all right, if you are now claiming that these sanctions are different and we don't need to worry about these sanctions, then you also have no moral authority or no sort of expertise to speak on Azardin sanctions. All right, you don't know nothing. All right, you're claiming that you could somehow interpret this for the Guyanese public, and nobody else knows anything. But the PPP sympathizers and supporters, they're the professionals all of a sudden. Right?
Yeah, let me just
Day,
pause you there for a second to respond
sanctions
to
and China Harbor sanctions and Maduro sanctions and Modi
Can
sanctions,
you
and
hear me?
everybody's on the same friggin' sanctions. All right, get that through y'all head. And if we don't need to worry about China sanctions, then at the end of the day, we don't need to worry about Azardin sanctions, and that is the fact of the matter.
Let me respond to a couple of these apologists on the comment stream. The first apologist, Derek Parkinson. The second apologist would be George Tanner, right? So, sir, you're no different to the PPP supporters. You're no different to the people that came on Dharmlal's post to say, oh, y'all leave Dharmlal alone. Y'all getting too much up in his business, right? Or the people in the PPP that shoot other people with impunity or abuse them and walk away with no charges. I'm telling you, you are no different to those people. Just like the PPP supporters come to support wrongdoing, or see you don't know the fullness of it. Someone come with you with a bottle, a woman come with you with a bottle, you saying the man had a right to draw a gun on her and lash her in her head? What's wrong with you? I would never get behind that. You're already telling me a lot about the kind of person you are, George Tanner. And you, Derek Parkinson, talking about, it's shocking that Francis Michael Bailey has this Anuk fool on his live like Jabour didn't. First of all, you don't know how to communicate properly. Your communication is still in the gutter. You're another person just very similar to the typical PPP supporter that shows up in the live stream. You do not even know how to communicate in a respectful manner. I don't know what kind of responses you get in regular life out there in life, right? We talk with everybody on this panel. I talk with everybody. I don't believe that Keanu was supporting the PPP. He was supporting the process, and he was one of the first people that came out and criticized the PPP. We covered this at length in the last live. I'm not going to get caught up in that. But for those of you that are saying that, turn into the people like myself that will call out something, like someone lashing someone in their head and coming online and abusing, cussing up people, if that's the kind of politics you've gotten accustomed to, that you've grown up in, I can only pity you for it. If that's what you've come to expect from your politicians, I want to apologize on their behalf, because they have debased this country. And what you're calling for is more of it. I stand for different. I stand for more respectful for communication. And for the record, Derek, starting a sentence, a conversation with this fool, with this idiot, it's so typical of the way we started communicating, because it started in Parliament. That's how those guys speak to each other about dildo and who needs a dildo. It's debased. There is no value in communication like that. You only drag the country further down into the muck we seek to escape. So on this thing with the sanctions, it's interesting that these guys now know all the different classifications and stuff of the sanctions. But bro, like people are saying, because the government wants us to believe that all these things they're doing, they don't have any impact on Guyanese, right? But we are so known for financial crimes now. I wonder if a young person was asking me the other day, a young man was asking me why it's so difficult to monetize content online and to
Ah,
participate in the same
our
way people do
banking
in other
system,
countries. Why can't
PayPal,
content
etc.
creators earn in the same way or access? But it's because of the things that the PPP have been allowing in this country.
That's
They
right.
don't trust us. They don't trust our transactions abroad. All eyes on Guyana because a set of funny things going on here. So they're robbing the average common man, right? That's what's happening. And they can't pick and choose. So we see now May Thomas, right? We see the other guys like Cromwell, Dabby. So right, all these PPP associates and employees that have been sanctioned, and the banks have only been prejudicially targeting one set of people. We covered now is Demerara citizens, um, Scotiabank, and GBTI targeting people, right? And none of them can actually give a response as to why they're doing that. Wicked and malicious, right? And Derek, I don't hear you come in saying, "Oh, why you gotta defend?" When I'm defending Azardin and win, I don't hear you saying nothing. So when I have a critique to make, a valid critique, I don't expect you to come cussing either, right? None of you. Let's be
Let me
fair, call a spade a spade. If we want a different country, a different dispensation, we have to be the ones that are going to create it. And it starts with holding each other accountable. Like I said, if I ever get caught up in anything untoward, hold me accountable. I expect my feet will be held to the fire for it.
Yeah, yeah. You know why me and Francis are not in any voice recordings? Because we're not involved in corrupt business. All right? That's how you avoid getting caught up in all of this nonsense. All right? And that's what people need to realize. There are people out there that are not this dirty. Okay? There are people that are trying to make real change. And the average Guyanese is not caught up inside it. Stop getting caught up in these corrupt politicians' games. Y'all watching this thing like it's some sort of soap opera. But these are the people, now let's tie this back. These are the people that are running our economy, that are running our country, making decisions for us. And then we are dealing with the repercussions. Now it goes right back to
Running
what
it
Francis
into
was
the
talking
ground.
about.
You know,
We don't have
I had a
PayPal. We content creators, we TikTok people, we Facebook, Instagram,
Mhm.
YouTubers. They can't even get paid for all the great work that they're doing because our banking system is so compromised because of how much corrupt business is done in this country that no international organizations are trusting us. And that's the reality. This is not something that Guyana banks have decided, oh, I don't want to do any business with TikTok or YouTube. I don't want to do it. No, YouTube and TikTok decided they're not doing work with we. PayPal decided they're not doing work with us. Now, understand that if we uproot this entire system that's occurring in Guyana, all of our lives will get better. Businesses could then transfer money easier. We could bring in more goods. Things will get cheaper here. The US dollar is what, 225 to 1 now? How is it with the biggest, fastest growing economy per capita in this world right now? The US dollar is getting
that
stronger against us. The
I
Guyana
did do
dollar
some
getting weaker.
research into that.
Ask yourself these questions. It's because
That
the
has a lot.
international organizations are now
Hmm.
realizing, wait a second, Guyana is compromised. Now, go back to the banking system, and I'll prove that to you here now. Go back to the banking system. Let's start with the victimization of the win candidates when it came to closing down their accounts. Now, you telling me that I think it was what, 1 week or so after that win candidates list came out, that the banks did all of their complete due diligence to find out if they are at risk in any way, shape, or form, withholding accounts for people on the win candidates list before closing those accounts? Because the reality is they didn't do any due diligence. They just reacted because they were instructed. Now, let me tell you how I can prove that even more. The American government, the
Furling, you want to
ambassador
jump
came
in
out
on
and
this
said,
live?
nobody
Just seeing a
consulted them.
comment from Furling. Send a request to Key and join us if you will, bro.
Yeah,
Because
it's on me. It's my life,
yeah,
so you guys let them send a request. Again, nobody has done any none of these banks did any due diligence. They just closed these accounts down. Why didn't any of them pick up the phone, send an email to the Treasury Department, send an email to the American embassy here in Guyana and say, listen, we would like to know if we are compromised with these win candidates. And because you know what the American government would have said? No, our sanctions only apply to Americans and American companies. Okay? And these
man,
guys are doing
it's a clear case
politics.
of
And the reality is,
victimization.
politics is
It's a
covered under
clear
the
cut case of
Constitution in
victimization at
America.
this
So
point.
you are not breaking the OFAC sanctions violations and regulations. Now, go a step further. That these same banks are happily doing business with China Railway Construction Company with OFAC sanctions, holding accounts for these Chinese companies, all right? Paying their employees through these banks, which means transfers are coming in from
Isn't it
China.
Citizens Republic? I wonder if GBTI are also helping to pay these people, but they're definitely passing this sanction business money through Guyanese banks. I don't hear them closing on the people bank. I ain't hear them closing on anybody in the PPP bank for bringing bank account for them bringing a
Yeah.
sanctioned company to do business in Guyana and affect us. They're building a ton
Just
of
go back to
projects
May
around the
Thomas.
place.
May Thomas is right there.
So
I want you to
good.
show me that you've closed down everybody's
Let me
account
read this
that's
comment by
associated with May
Ferlin.
Thomas or in a political party with
Here,
May Thomas. That means
here.
everybody in the PPP.
Good. So Ferlin's comment here. May Thomas was identified as the responsible person. Azardin was identified as the one materially assisting May Thomas. OFAC stated government officials were working in conjunction with Azardin, but only identified one government official. But they went to a great extent to focus on Azardin. So, is Azardin, who benefited from corruption, the ideal candidate to address corruption? Well, Ferlin, I think that speaks to the reason I've ultimately decided I would stay in Forward Guyana movement with VPAC. I was willing to team up with Win. Under such circumstances, I knew it was a collaborative effort and it would address this very question that you have there. That there, I know for sure there's a collaboration where there are people I have 100% confidence in that I know would be acting against any impulse or if there was any corruption or any push in that direction, rather than feeling like I was absorbed into something and treated more like an employee and therefore didn't have much of a voice. So I wanted to be in a place where I had the greatest voice and where I knew people were committed most to transparency. Everyone is in their right to seek redemption from whatever sins they have committed. And I believe Azardin is in his right as well. That's not something though that they have ever come out and come clean and had an honest discussion with the public about. But if we can't even have a discussion, a reasoned discussion, this was really bleeding out here, Ferlin. We can't even have a discussion about someone that the party says a fringe supporter lashing someone in the head and then holding press conferences
No,
in the
we have.
party colors and everything. That is a very difficult
I hear you.
conversation to have in Guyana without people blowing their minds. And I saw someone, George accused us earlier of that we are campaigning for the PPP. Well, you know, this thing where we assume in our minds that every criticism means you're rooting for the other guy. If I criticize you, I must be rooting for the other guy. My best friends in this life are people that can criticize me honestly and say, hey, you're erring there. You could do a better job there. I expected better of you there. People that hold me to my greater self, that hold me to my higher self. Those are your friends and the people that are actually looking out for you, not the people that are fearful of criticizing you. Criticism is how we grow. It is how we improve. There is no system in this world that has ever improved without criticism, without someone saying this could be better. And I figure out how it could be better. Let's try this, right? So talking about Doggy doesn't mean we want Win to come out of the race. It doesn't mean we are supporting the PPP. right? And there's way more corruption in the space of the PPP. There is way more than in any other party space.
I want
But
to
it should not
actually
stop us
defend
having
Win.
honest discussions.
I want to defend Win a little bit here, actually.
No,
All right,
George, I
because I think this
disagree
is
with
something that
you. I've
needs to be
disagreed with
said.
most of your points
I
this
don't know
evening.
about anybody out there in the public. All right, I can only speak for myself, but I have never seen 1 ounce of evidence to support that Azardin has done what he has been sanctioned for. Okay, and I'm sorry. I tried to be as much of a fair person as possible, and the reality is he's not had his day in court yet. And I'm
Yeah,
a firm believer
he should have his day in
that
court.
if you accuse a man of something, he must be given a chance to defend himself. The PPP has not carried this man
Mind
away.
you,
The PPP has not charged
mind
this
you,
man for anything here.
hear me
I'm
out.
sorry.
Mind you, at one
Huh?
point here also, there's something else that, raised my eyebrows. So there was a period where Azardin did release some videos, his dad as well, where they said very shortly they will be coming to the public to reveal persons that are smuggling even more gold and who are actually dealing with the Venezuelans. And like they seem to know of a lot more corruption. And then there was somebody that was in prison and they were and people were paid to beat them and molest them and all this stuff. All this corruption that they came forward and said that they would bring to the public. I don't remember it ever being brought to the public. And something that disturbed me about this whole process, why I think Azardin has been a good figure in this space is it helped to reveal a lot of the cards that the PPP have in their deck. A lot of the nasty, dirty cards that they have and they've been playing against people, right? Like stashing up wrongdoing. Somebody do something wrong. They keep a database. So when is their friends? Because remember, they were friends and family. All of these crimes that that they say were committed have been done under their watch with their knowledge, but only when somebody steps out of the fold. And they give me an impression of the PPP as more like a mafia than an actual political party that's there to uphold the law and the constitution, because the law only applies to people that fall out with them. Vis-a-vis critics, that man should be in jail or facing the courts asking where is our 180 something million dollar for the pump station and the other monies you've taken from taxpayer. But because he's a friend of the government, he's allowed to be free. If he ever starts speaking out against the government, they will use that against him. Amir is currently, well, until these recordings start coming out, these bombshell revelations, Melly Mel dropping on them like lava, right? Now, until that, he's friends with them. He could be racist, he bully people, beat up people, put gun in people's mouth, torture people, sexually molest his as security guard. All kind of thing Amira might have been doing. Nothing, no repercussion. Beat his wife up, all kind of thing. No repercussion because he is a friend of the government. And similarly, we know now that Azudin would have enjoyed similar protection, and this is just a fact. He enjoyed similar protection until he became too popular and came out of the party fold. I don't want a country, right? And so I was willing, and I'm willing to give anybody an ear, especially if they say I'm different, I'm doing different, I'm breaking away from the fold, I want to do different. And it's until that thing happened with Doggy that I start getting this strong sense that is the same, this is the same playbook that these guys are using. And I don't want to replace corruption. I want to end it. I want to end
I hear,
corruption,
I hear you,
right?
Francis.
It's
All
not
right,
that I'm saying, I'm
I'm
not
hoping
telling people
PPP
don't vote for the PPP. I don't know who hearing that, who need to clean the ears out. If I criticize anybody, any other party, I'm not telling you go and vote for the PPP. I did you go and get a Q-tip and clean that earwax right away. Because Francis Bill did not say that. I said vote against corruption. Vote against corruption. Right? But you see, you're fighting against public opinion. And the truth of the matter is he's very popular. He's done a lot of philanthropy. I know he's been accused of starting these donations more publicly, and the PPP says to save his ass. But to my knowledge, the family has been involved in philanthropy for a long time. I don't necessarily think philanthropy translates to governance, right? Especially when you're given the impression you'll be doing everything on your own or trying to be like that, right? You need a team of people. I'm glad to see he's pushed forward this team of people. And just like all the other smaller parties, I'm interested in growth and us having a vibrant political culture that can challenge the status quo and move Guyana into a new place. But we can only do that if we're willing to always have honest discussions, willing to keep each other accountable, and not excuse certain things on the basis of, oh, I don't want this person to look bad because it might make the people we're against not look so bad. Or no, let us not shy away from that. No friend or favor. Let wherever the truth is, let us follow it. Let us sound it out. Let's objectively appraise it and move on from there as better people. I don't know why that's such a difficult thing. I don't know, it's such a difficult thing
No,
to
you're
do.
absolutely right. I do want to be cautious though, Francis. You know my position on this Doggy situation, on Amir, on Cryptic, and this one and that one. These guys are irrelevant at the end of the day. All right.
They
I believe
know
the
they're not
discourse needs.
irrelevant, or they would not be getting funding to do what they do and to spread the hate and vile discourse they're communicating. They wouldn't be funded to do it if they were
Yeah,
irrelevant people. There are people
you're
in
right.
the population that listen to them, people that are even easily manipulated by them. There's a percentage, at least 50% of this population, according to the statistics, is fail math and English every
Mhm.
year. That's huge. That's
Yeah,
huge. If you think about how those people consume information and the kind of things that might affect them or stimulate them, right? If we think about the national problem with communication, it's not limited to Parliament. Parliament is really a reflection of what's been going on outside Parliament, where for years this disrespect, but it starts with our leadership. If your
there
leadership
you
are
go.
out there encouraging you to see each other as your kin, to build and strengthen the bonds of unity instead of
Yeah,
constantly trying to drive wedges and I must look at you for your race and you at me for my race and be suspicious of each other automatically and pigeonhole each other and stereotype. If they weren't working for such objectives, we'd be in a
all
different
right.
country, we'd be in a different space.
I
So
hear you.
those
I hear
people
you,
must
Francis.
be exposed because they're
I'm
actually
tired of talking about
forwarding the
Doggy. You're not
objectives
alive.
of the
It's just,
dictatorship.
it's
So
just
they must be addressed.
we get the broken culture. We know the system broken, and these people do need to be put in check. And all of them, at the end of the day, need to come out of the political realm. And I truly hope that the average Guyanese. It's unfortunate the level of education is what you're referring to, but I truly hope at least the morality side of this. People need to understand that what we're watching in politics is kind of like the way Trump is operating. It's just kind of nasty, right? These people attacking one another to make themselves look good, to make themselves relevant. Here, we learn it and we watch it from Jagdio. Okay, he's been doing it for 3 years at his press conferences on Thursdays. We watch how the PPP are so scared of each other. Look how they're attacking each other. Look how vile they are in every
Yeah, you lead
conversation
thanks to no
because
child
that's
left
the
behind.
leadership that they have. Now, Doggy is a symptom of this broken system. So let's not get caught up with this. Like I said, the ones that are
I'm
at the
not
bottom,
disagreeing with you.
kind
Listen,
of
we don't
making
watch
a
the
name
guys
for
live
themselves by
sometimes.
following the
No, no,
system.
hear
Let's
me
talk
out.
about the ones that are creating the system.
You're very timid about approaching certain topics even, and I don't understand why. Right? It's
Oh
not
my
like I
God.
hate Doggy. I can disagree with something Doggy has done. I can disagree with his position in the same way I still turn around and share Doggy's life when he went to interview the family of the man that Amir had beaten up and whose ribs he had damaged and threw in jail. I still shared his life and participated in it. I can come and tell you, Kian, I don't agree with X or Y thing that you did. I might
Yeah.
still share your life, and you can come to me and say, Francis, I don't agree with whatever. That is a part of the process of holding people accountable.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's no dog. You don't get a free pass because what he's Doggy. I see people say they're saying that he makes his money from his social platform. Okay, we're not suggesting the PPP paying Doggy or however he gets funding, but he's be there with big wads of cash. And I did see a video where he was paying people on behalf of Azardin Mohammed. Maybe he was using his own money to do it. Maybe you can tell me, right? But yeah, so
I
We
don't
don't
know.
always
I
have
don't
to
know.
agree 100%, but that don't mean I'm not gonna call a spade and a shovel when I see it, especially if I see the spade spading and the shovel shoveling. Okay, that's
All right. Let
when
me
I go there.
the 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 moral fabric of our society is definitely breaking down. I agree with that. But I think I want to talk about something here that I think is affecting all guys and something that people need to be voting on. The actual topic that people need to be voting on. And I think this is a cost of living conversation, Francis. All right. We could talk about sanctions, we could talk about individual things here and there, and we could put a fear of God into everybody, and we could say how bad everybody is. But at the end of the day, people struggling to feed their families, bro. All right. And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. All right. And needs to be hammered home. The reality is, at this point in time, cost of living has gone up by at minimum 75%. This
Hmm.
came from the PPP's figures, which is the Guyana Marketing Corporation. All right. Basic food items gone up 75%. We've seen rent in certain parts of the country gone through the roof, over hundreds of percent. All right. We've watched transportation go through the roof. We've watched salaries only raise by 31% thereabouts. I mean, at the end of the day, we school children's items.
These
All right.
these are
We
the
watch.
direct results of policy, Ian, or
There
lack
you go.
thereof. Okay, like where cost
Right.
of living is concerned, I know a lot of people been focused on just the cost of food prices. But I think there's for one thing, right? Like, we went and checked out the one of the low income schemes that they've developed in Diamond the
Yeah.
other day, right? And I find it funny that when land is being awarded, well, first of all, I find it incredibly classist that the government decided that they would create specific neighborhoods for high income, middle income, and low income people and block people
Mhm.
off. Like you're creating ghettos for some people and
Exactly. It's condemning
paradises
them
for
to an
others.
economic
Also,
status.
you're also kind of baking someone into their economic status. You're a low income and you're going to be low income for life. You're high income, you're high income for life. Where's the social ladder down there? But when you go into these communities and you look around and you see what is there, like, or the lack thereof, right? The lack of love in the community, the amount of money that has been spent there, and you can't see evidence of it. It makes you wonder, right? It makes you wonder where we're really going because those lots are very tiny, right? I always wonder why the poor get the least amount of land when they would most benefit from larger plots that they could have kitchen gardens, where there's some chicken, some eggs, or whatever. And in a community, if you were to make a low income community and you give those people double the space and they had arable land, and even I like this model they have in the UK where you have allotments, you have these like community gardens. Cuba was another place that pioneered this idea that you could have community gardens where there were these
Like
common places
co-ops.
you could go and volunteer time, you could help grow stuff, and you're entitled to get produce from there every week, every month. You could go and get free greens. So it's a way of subsidizing and lowering your costs overall. So I know people hate Burnham. The man already dead by the time I was alive. But one of his policies that I used to hear about or grown up hearing about is how you go around giving people seeds and farming implements and stuff to really encourage people. There are parts of southern people describe how it used to look and how many kitchen gardens there were on View Avenue. I can't even comprehend what they're talking about because it looks so different today. But I like that approach is humane. And so on one hand, you must address the factors that are driving the cost increases, but you also give some sort of social securities. You have community gardens, you have subsidized means of accessing food, right? Grants for parents that have children, right? Every monthly ones at that. And then the whole thing, like you see the way money has flooded into our economy, it has a lot to do with how the wealth has been distributed, right? Because some people they will tell you what cost increase. They don't feel it. They haven't felt it. They're not even aware because their money has gone up 500%. But the average man's salary is only gone up 38. So there's inequality, a yawning gulf that is only opening. And that is what needs to be arrested.
Let me
Because
let me give
some
you
people
something
don't know.
interesting here.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I've been enjoying watching this elections play out because I feel like it's a power to the average man that we're watching. I feel like the average Guyanese is gaining confidence that we are in control of this political dynamic. We choose our leaders. You don't control us. You do what's best for us and stop doing what's best for you. You know, I always use this example. Over the last 2 years, our three closest neighbors, Brazil, Suriname, and Trinidad, have had elections. And you know, all three of those countries have changed their governments. All right. And they had big rallies. All three of the countries, the incumbent government had big rallies. All right. If you see people all over the place and they think they got us in the bag, each one of those elections, the incumbent was voted out. And I think this country, Guyana, is seeing this kind of change now. When I sit down and I look at just our few little indicators, for example, our social media, when I see the amount of people that's going behind the win party, that's following Azardin's lives, versus the amount that's going out to Jack Dio's press conference lives, when I see when they're doing their rallies, the live on social media, one got 500, the other one got 1,500. The average Guyanese, go on to TikTok, the average Guyanese
I see
is out
Brian. Hey,
here now
Brian, why you
stating,
enjoying the
hey,
life?
we taking our power
Hi,
back,
hi
and that means
Brian.
taking you guys out of power.
Brian
And I
sent you
really
a request.
enjoyed watching Guyanese see, and I said this from the beginning. Funny enough, and I'll tell you, I told it to the PPP. I said,
Hmm.
the biggest mistake you guys are making is you are overselling what's going on in this country. Okay? You have now shown everybody how much oil money we are making. Okay? You've now shown us how much you're spending frivolously on projects that are unnecessary, gas to energy, building and blocking up roads,
This is
just
why
giving
I'm
you
telling
currency
Brian to come
contracts,
join us. I
etc.
want to talk
We're
about the
watching
loans.
you throw away
The
money.
loan.
Then we're watching you buy bigger and better Prados. We're watching you and your partners at Sheriff by helicopter. We're watching all of these companies that are associated with the PPP grow and become, look at how great the country is doing because of these few PPP companies. And the average man is sitting there saying, I not feeling this. How come I am the one that got paying my full taxes? How come I still getting blackout? How's my water still wrong in my pipe? I sometimes ain't even getting water.
You know, during the rise of what they ended up referring to as neoliberal capitalism, there was this famous economist, Milton Friedman, and Friedman's model was very much, I think it's very much reflected in the Guyana of today, but they went above and beyond. But basically freeing up the markets, and he's the person that coined the term trickle down economics. So he very much believed in few market controls and liberalizing things. And the PPP were kind of, I think they functioned as if cut from that cloth. I mean, they did a lot of work, Friedman and the Ford Foundation, to try and influence economic policy throughout Latin America for a period. They even give scholarships to a lot of economists from this region to go study um, in the US. But, I digress. The point of it is that the way Friedman structured things is very similar to how the PPP ended up structuring things. But instead of trickle down economics, they ended up with trickle up economics, right? Where the money just trickles up to accrue, because that's really the reality of the outputs of neoliberal capitalism is the money ends up trickling up. It doesn't trickle down to the masses, especially when you have these levels of control like we have in our system. And that's really the thing. It's not that we're not wealthy. Bro, I was driving around yesterday, and I had to ask myself if I'm living in the twilight zone, because I know on paper trillions of dollars have been spent over the last 5 years. I could hardly see it. I mean,
Mm.
you could show me a few roads, but I could hardly see where our oil money went, because the fact of the matter is a lot of a lot of this money was that, the biggest projects like these hospitals going up loan. That's why I was asking Brian to come and join, right? To send you a message request just now. Because he published a nice long piece on all the loans we're taking. So the hospitals does loan. The new Harbor Bridge does loan. Many of the biggest roads, the billion-dollar roads, loan. Highway, loan. Um, gas to shore, another loan. So,
I think there's
like
six
where did
billion dollars in loans
six
now.
billion
6 billion
US dollar in
US.
loan? So, where did our money? I don't understand, brother.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
did
And,
our
and
money
that's,
go? You know,
you
if
talk
if
about,
you get it's a breakdown. Like if you had $100,000 to manage, and I say, hey, Kian, I can manage this 100,000 for you, right? I can fix your gate and your fence, and then you walk away for this $100,000. And you say, okay, well, I gonna entrust you to manage this 100,000 for me. I take this 100,000. Next thing now, by the time you come back, you see you get a half patch gate. They got some hole in the walkway, but it kind of fixed. But we can break down again. You get some substandard work. So you're thinking, okay, Francis just spend me 100,000 on this thing, but I gonna tell you, hey, I take a loan for $500,000 in your name, right? I gave you crap work for it, and 100,000 that you give me, I can't really say. Well, I use it to trim the grass,
yes,
and that
correct,
was
correct,
it
correct.
shocked me because there are parties where there's like as I always say with forward Guyana, we don't have no corruption on our hands that the PPP can't fabricate. You ain't hear but us, $1 trillion, $1 billion
Just
deal and who
just
sell
give
out this and
somebody else a
no, but
chance. And this is my
people
encouragement to
still
everyone out there.
But people will still say, "Oh, you can do better. You definitely can do." Who could do worse? Who could do worse
Yeah,
than this?
exactly. You got to
No,
vote for anybody except the PPP and the PNC. The PPP sit on here and talk like they are these fantastic economic managers. Fiscally responsible, planning for the future. We sit in here going, partner, none of us have seen any benefits. Imagine you can't even stop blackouts after 5 more years and all the oil money in the world, right? For less than 1 million people. Imagine you can't even solve our water problem. Imagine the roads, the Americans coming and calling it concussion roads. Like, what progress are you speaking about? You and your friends, right? So at the end of the day, everybody just needs to understand this is what politics is. Vote for Forward Guyana, vote for Win, vote for anybody except for PPP and PNC. The two of them have had their chance. Okay, give
Hermione.
somebody else the
Let,
opportunity now.
let's address Hermione's point there. Or Hermione. I'm sorry if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. Hermione Glenn Haywood. So she said APNU hasn't got any corruption either. Norton Slate is as clean as a whistle. Well, Hermione, you see the thing is we did speak early. We did speak early on, and and we were talking about the fact that there's been corruption in both PPP and APNU/PNC administrations, and it would be facetious and dishonest to suggest otherwise. Well documented cases of corruption. Whether Aubrey has directly participated in any corruption, I don't know of any big corruption scandal involving Aubrey Norton. I'll be honest about that. My own personal view as a citizen, and I'm entitled to this. Again, this is why I chose to join BPAC and then coalesce with Forward Guyana Movement rather than join APNU, because I was invited to join APNU. The invited to join number parties. Miss Brooms had approached me at some point. I had a meeting with Mr. Hughes. I had a meeting with Azardin's camp as well. Most of the small parties, except everyone except the PPP, was interested in me joining them. I chose the group I'm in for a number of specific reasons, right? But um, the reason for me that I didn't join with APNU is I didn't feel represented. I didn't feel that we had a vibrant opposition for the past 5 years in a way that it represented the interests of the people. I felt people like Melly Mel were doing the work of the opposition leaders. I felt lackluster um, engagement from the opposition leaders for most of the last 5 years. It's like they went into a daze after the whole election scandal. There was no press releases or accountability. I'm saying even the people in APNU, they still say, well, they didn't rig the election or not. That they never represent themselves. Okay, there was a failure as far as that is concerned, and there's a general frustration. And you want to see evidence of that? Look at how many people have jumped ship. Okay, some of those people, okay, they didn't jump ship because they fed up. Some of them maybe they got bought out. But so many people, it's telling me there's an underlying frustration. And I even speak to people that are APNU supporters. Aubrey is an intelligent man, right? I can give Jackie jacket. I think he's articulate, he's intelligent, he has good ideas. He, in terms of charisma and how much he is liked by most of the people in the party, there's a division in the camps. I just did not, as one person, me, Francis Bailey, and many of the people I spoke to, we did not feel represented by the opposition parties. Those people went silent. They start like they find their voice. The other day, I start hearing one thing closer to election. I want an opposition that represent me from when the ribbon cut and the boots hit the ground to the final ringing of the bell 5 years later. On the ground all the time representing our interests. I did not
Yeah,
feel that, and that's why I did
I
not
agree.
go with that. And the same thing, you were in a party that had certain things going on, and as the leader of the party, not addressed it. Man, I went to Congress Place today. Man, I went there to move some bees a time, right? Look around at the environment. Again, I tell you all honestly from my heart. Just when I go in front by PPP, by Freedom House, and I look across the road and I say, how these people run a country? Right across the road from a big manhole open. It looks stink. You know what I'm saying? I went by Congress Place. I was like, it looks stink. Instead of these tile things break up in the thing that had plywood look like it need replacing, step or scuff up. You know what I'm saying? I felt disappointed. I'm like, man, it is not what I wanted. So again, not because I'm an Afro Guyanese means I'm owned by the PNC or I owe some allegiance to EPNU. And nobody that's East Indian owes automatically their allegiance to the PPP. We must break free of that. Those are some chains we would do good to take off ourselves and cast away. Nobody
Yeah.
owns us, and it doesn't stop us from having respectful dialogue. It doesn't stop me from acknowledging the things I think are good about Aubrey Norton or any other leader for that matter, and also be fair about my criticism. And I didn't feel represented enough by that party that I want to join it. That's the
Yeah.
truth of the matter.
What I think we can all agree on is this election is going to be very, very interesting, Francis. I
It'll
don't
be
think
hella
that this is going
interesting,
to.
yeah.
I always tell people this, all right, just before we start closing off, but because it gets in a little late, but just
Hmm.
before we start closing off, I always tell people this. Other than myself, Francis, and probably Melly Mel, I'm not sure who else has been standing up and speaking out on against the PPP and all the corruption and the nonsense over the years. Only very recently have more people come out. But let me tell you why this is so interesting to me. Is that if you, and Francis, I know you can attest to this, if you ask anybody during the last 3 years and 4 years that we've been talking out, if what we're doing is going to work, is going to have a positive impact, if the government's going to change, everybody used to look at us and say, y'all are crazy. Y'all fight. PPP got oil money. They're going to, whitewash this election. It's going to be a landslide. Now, partner, everybody talking about how close this is going to be and how interesting this election is. And I can tell you for a
Yeah,
fact
no,
that
Nene
signifies
just made a point.
what we were speaking about is true. What it means
He
is that
said
the
that
people are not feeling this.
Amanza was
The
in
economic,
APNU.
lives are not getting better. Hmm?
Mm-hmm. Someone just made a point that Amanza was in APNU. Yeah, I agree with you, but she was not the leader of the party, and she was somebody that was sidelined in the party. And she ultimately made the decision based on what she is seeing. She made a decision to leave that space, right? And
Yeah.
I've said quite publicly a number of times that my favorite politician from any side of the political divide over the past 5 years has been Amanza. There's not a time that she will stand up to speak and I don't listen to what she's got to say. Is one of the most impassioned politicians that stood on the floor of parliament and not stood there to cuss out anybody, always carries herself with decorum. Never, ever, ever heard Amanza Walton defame, debase, cuss out anybody. The lady carries herself with class. She's highly intelligent. She
Agreed.
speaks truth to power. She's never scared to do it. And I could get behind anybody like that, right? Whatever, that when I assess the whole field, that was the person I was willing to get behind, right? And everybody else I'm working with in the party.
Yeah.
And
So
and I can
I'm
go
completely in
through
agreement with you, Francis. I think Amanda's
Mhm.
fantastic, and I encourage anybody to give her your vote as well. All right, just anybody except for PPP
Rick
and
Ford
PNC,
speaks out a lot.
please.
I just
You know,
respond to some of the comments. Rick Ford speaks out a lot. I have a lot of respect for Rick Ford. I do acknowledge him. I do repost some of his things sometimes. I do think sometimes Rick Ford can be a bit inflammatory or
yeah,
sensational
I was about to
with
say.
some of the things that he posts. Like sometimes Rick Ford tell you tomorrow the sky is gonna be purple at 12 o'clock. And you think purple 12 o'clock, the sky is not purple. Rick Ford not come back and be like, oops. I think sometimes it's not just dramatic, but sometimes he can sensationalize the story with his the mode of communication. In the same way I say I don't always agree with how Melly Mel communicates all the time. I love her to bits. I think she's a hero. I don't always agree with the way that she communicates. Okay? Again, am I right? You mightn't even like the way I communicate. I annoy some of you guys just for speaking about potholes. I could still respect you. Don't mean I have to cuss you out. And I hope we get to that place where we acknowledge the benefits of respectful communication rather than one that is always pulling each other down, debasing each other. You have a different idea to me, so we must argue. I used to be part of the debating team in Bishops, right? I used to win a lot of debating competitions since high school. And maybe that changed my perspective a little bit. Because when I go into an argument or a discussion with someone, I am genuinely I want to explore. And, a good debate, to win a debate, the better you are at putting yourself in the shoes of your opponent and arguing from their perspective, the better your outcome is going to be. And I love a good exchange of ideas, especially with people that I don't agree with. Many times I learn something new. There's some cause for me to shift. Kian and I don't always agree. Sometimes we ding dong back and forth about something, but at the end of the day, we seek in middle ground and we often find it. That is great.
Yeah.
That could move something forward. Kian could learn something. I learned something. We both adjust our reality a bit and we move forward in a more harmonized fashion. And Kian could only benefit from that.
France, I want to
No?
state how important this is to our society, and people don't realize it,
Mm-hmm.
how important the level of discussion is when you're communicating with someone, how important it is to have respect and listen and understand, and then politely respond. Now, we are watching simple situations in Guyana in our society, whether it's two cars on the road that trying to pass, a busman that trying to bore, or a policeman and a
Mm-hmm.
civilian, and you watch these conversations go from 0 to 100 because that one person didn't be respectful, didn't, brought some profanity into the conversation for no reason. And then all of a sudden, this thing is blown up into an argument because now you become disrespectful. And
And
if you
Chris
want to
is
get your
saying
point
that we're
across,
on the same page. Yeah, often we are,
yeah,
but sometimes we're not. And this applies even to people that I'm not on the same page with that. I may disagree completely with their perspective on something. I am still willing to sit. That's the difference. I'm still willing to entertain someone that thinks completely differently to me and hear them out and ask them probing questions to determine what is it that has generated
yeah,
this thought or what's behind it, and is it worth considering, and do I need to adjust my position? Is this person presented enough empirical evidence or data? I love data. Have they given me enough data that I need to adjust my own position? And I know not to get caught up in my own ego to tell myself I know everything, I have the absolute truth, or that keeps me in growth mode. I can always grow and learn and adapt. And that's how I think, you can't go wrong for aspiring to do that. I always have an open ear, even for people I don't agree with. I do not believe in cussing, trying to shut down people simply because they don't agree with you. The manner of communication makes a big difference. You don't speak to people, oh, you're a clown, you're a jackass. And I think it's because we like emotionally retarded. That's why in communication, that's why people reach for these things, because we don't have the toolkit to reach for to say, well, I disagree with you, but respectfully, blah blah. Use a crass. Use a crass. Maybe that's just easier. A reflexive emotional response. Something that's grounded there, rather than something that is grounded in our desire to actually. And this is what I always ask people: when you're communicating, always have at the forefront of your mind, like, what's your objective? Is your objective to get into a ring down battle about who face more ugly? Or did you want to solve a problem? Did you actually want to
Yeah.
come to a solution? If you and someone disagree, did you really want to come to middle ground, or do you want to spend the next hour turning it personal or trading barbs or telling them something you don't like about them? Or man, there's a great book called Six Thinking Hats by Edward de Bono. I think that's a great book. Anybody in an organization should read that book. It addresses that whole problem with adversarial communication, especially in groups. So rather than you and someone like, oh, this is a good idea, and the person knocked it down, and then you knock down their ideas, you all think the same way. Like there's like six different categories, but like you all strategize on the worst case scenario. Everyone thinks about that at the same time. And then you think
Yeah.
about what all the best things. And then you think about threats and right, but you go through it like that. So at every stage, everyone is always aligned and thinking in the same pool. No one is fighting. You're all working to a common objective. Right? I think there's a lot of work to be done on communication, and I would even look forward to bringing in like NCN. Department of Public Information is a waste. That's a propaganda
Yeah.
page. If they were used properly, these tools that the state have, NCN, the radio stations, these are the vehicles for social change. But they're currently bogged down with corruption because they're used to entrench the dictatorship rather than liberate our minds in the way that they definitely have the potential to do.
Yeah. First, I think this was a great chat. We've been on for an hour and a half. I have a new
Yes, sir.
restaurant I'm opening soon, so I have
Oh,
so much
congrats,
work to do
congrats,
tomorrow.
congrats.
All right, brother?
Yeah, we'll catch up, man. It was a good chat, guys. I wanna yeah, I disagree with that. Just Harmony says London just call people jackass too. I disagree with anybody. Again, look, Nigel's in my party. I could tell you,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's not my style of communication. It's not something I stand for. Okay, I
Yeah.
could tell you that. So much
Yeah.
less if I could tell you that honestly about someone in my own party. I could tell you about someone in another party, right? And I could bring that up and we could agree to disagree. Okay, but on the level of it, I know Nigel will keep himself in check. I never hear somebody Nigel cussing up somebody on the internet. But even that, calling somebody a jackass, I don't agree with it, right? I don't disagree with things based on color, like, oh, if a man in a purple shirt say it, it's all right, but if a man in a red shirt say it, it's not. No, it's same for me. Okay, same
Hopefully
for
this
me.
level, yeah, hopefully this level of discourse is what we can start seeing from our politicians after this election.
I
Hopefully
hope
we get some
so.
new politicians in there to change things up a bit. That's the
And
idea,
I
guys.
never thought you
Vote
were
anybody
mad with
except
me,
PPP and PNC. Let's
Harmony.
change our culture. Let's change
Yeah, I just
society a bit. Let's change what's going on.
yeah, just friendly to you, Harmony. I don't think you're upset with me. And again, if you ever had a criticism from me, I don't automatically assume people are upset. The first thing I would do is look for where you might have a valid point. If you tell me I am being unkind about something, before I reject it and tell you no, I'm not doing, I will first examine all the different ways I could have possibly been unkind before I come back to you with a response. So if appropriate, if I figured out first I did something wrong or I was unkind, I would come with an apology rather than a defense, or trying to be defensive. Because often that again robs us of good communication, and that's what I'm here for, right?
Love
So,
it. Love it.
Ian, I guess we're gonna wrap up. I'm grateful to all the people that, well, grateful for you having me on the live, and for all the people that joined us this evening. Love you guys for that, and I look forward to catching up with you soon, Kian. Well, you know he's Gaff regular.
Thanks for joining. Francis and I will be
Yeah.
on during the week. Take care, guys.
All right. Take care, guys.